Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Cody Miller Show. Happy Monday morning. I hope you are all doing well and thank you for joining me as today we talk about all things floating through the world of swimming. That's news stories, breaking stories, current events, training, racing, meet results, tips, tricks, whatever you want to talk about, that is what we're here for. And before we dive into our main topics today, I'll just start off by saying, man, I have had a pretty crazy last few days, really a crazy week. A lot of you have asked me about the event that I took, the event in Florida that I took part in this past weekend, and it was a blast. I'll just start off by saying I flew to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I competed in the Global Swim Series' first event back post-COVID, right? Before COVID, they put on a lot of open water events kind of around the world. And now they're back. And this first event, they brought in a handful of Olympians, myself, Blake Peroni, Anthony Irvin, Colin Jones, and a lot more, quite honestly. And it was my first ever open water ocean swim. And I swam the 5K. And I've got a vlog coming out on Wednesday, so just a couple days, you guys will be, who want to see, you'll be able to see it. But it was a ton of fun. And I am really excited to do more, quite honestly. I did a fair amount of over distance swimming when I was younger, like in high school. I did a few open water swims. I did some stuff in lakes. But yeah, I wasn't sure how I was going to like it. Blake loved it. Blake Peroni, retired Blake Peroni, like loved it, like had so much fun. So I went to that and then I came back, and that next day, as I said to you all, or I've said in my most previous video, I've been wanting to get back into the swing of things, of swimming more regularly, of training regularly, getting back in shape, getting back to going to some meets. You know, we've got the Indy World Cup coming up in like 2 months, a lot of stuff around the corner to like kind of prepare for. And so I was looking forward to starting off this week, coming back from Florida, and I get back and, you know, Allie is working again. And so she can't miss work. And I come home and Axel and Cato both have hand, foot, mouth. It's like a skin bacteria thing that gets passed around daycares. It's super common, but it's like basically like a really bad rash on their butt. So I basically had to stay home for 2 days. And it was just me in dad mode for 2 days with the kids while Allie was at work. And I like got a good dose of like what stay-at-home dad/mom life would be. And it's tough. I love spending time with my kids. I really do. And I miss them when I was gone over the weekend. However, you can only change so many dirty diapers before you're like, is this really my life? Is this really my life? Like how many times? And not to mention, you know, because they have that little rash on their butt, when you're wiping it, it just, they cry and whine, and it's tough. So it's been a crazy, hectic week. But anyway, you don't want to hear about that. You clicked on this video to hear me talk about the things that are happening in the swimming world. So let's go ahead and get into that, okay? And before we do, how do I come up with the main topics of the show? It's really easy. You create the topics and then I sift through them and I pick them. Whenever you come across a topic, a subject, a question in the swimming world, in the newsfeed, whatever it is, fire me an email to codymillershow@gmail.com. That's codymillershow@gmail.com. Make sure you put the topic of your question in the subject line and try to keep those emails short because I like to be able to fit it on the screen. And you might possibly see your show or your question answered here on my show. Just submit your question. All right, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this first question. And this is the big one, right? Like this is the lead. This is the thing that everyone has been talking about. Our first main topic today comes to us from Luca from Orlando, Florida. And Luca writes, "It finally happened. The man Caleb Dressel has finally broken his silence since departing this summer's World Championships early. Now that he's given us an update, I was wondering if you'd be willing to share your thoughts and maybe give us some insight into what's going on. Caleb is my favorite swimmer and you're my favorite YouTuber. Keep up the great work and thank you for the amazing swimming content." All right, thank you for that question, Luca. And yes, Caleb has finally posted on Instagram stating that he has not swam since departing World Championships. And to give you a little bit of backstory, Caleb went to World Championships this summer, led off the men's 4x100 freestyle relay in a 47.6, a very, very respectable 100 freestyle time that would have been in contention for a medal in the final based on those results. And then he won the individual 50 butterfly. Like, he won that gold medal. So he won 2 gold medals. And then he took off on day 3, or right after the semis of the 100 freestyle. I think he swam prelims. So he left. And there was no word as to why the GOAT Caleb, the reigning Olympic champion, left. And everyone was left speculating. And I will say that of all the things that I get email submissions for, this was the most hotly asked question I got. Like, what's going on with Caleb? Do you know? Can you share things? And as I've said before, my job with this video podcast, with this show, is to be a fan, is to speculate as a fan, is to discuss things as a fan, and is to talk about all kinds of things. However, I'm not a breaking news guy. I will never do that. That's not my thing, right? Unless someone like wants to come on my show and talk about things, sure. But like, even if I had inside information, because I have friends close to situations like this, I would never discuss that, right? That's because that's not my place. That's not my right. And I would never talk about something, particularly something like this with Caleb, until he publicly speaks about this. So now that he has finally broken his silence, and all of you have been asking, we can conclude based on what he said that, I mean, it wasn't an injury. He didn't hurt himself. It was definitely a mental thing. He needed a break. And this comes directly from his Instagram. He said, quote, "I haven't swam since Worlds, and I can honestly say I have been happy without swimming. I really miss it though. A few things I've done. I finally went on a honeymoon to Iceland. I bought a tractor." I love that he bought a tractor. He's got, all this land in Florida. Hiked another section of the Appalachian Trail and swam with some manatees, which is, by the way, that's like super cool. That's very cool. Caleb wrote, "I know I can have swimming and happiness. I had them both at one point in my life, and I'm working on it. If you need a break, take one. I'll be back." All right, so right there he said, I know that I can have swimming and happiness. I've had both of them before. What he's saying there is he was not in a good mental place. Okay, this is definitely a mental health situation. And that's why he left. He was clearly swimming really well, clearly incredibly physically fit. He won an individual world championship gold medal, won a relay gold medal, was on track to have a very good meet, and decided, I'm not, like, my head isn't in the right space. I got to get out of here. And so, first of all, I think we all can agree that we're just really, really happy as fans of Caleb that he's doing well, right? The fact that he was able to go on a honeymoon, the fact that he's able to take some time to himself, like, that stuff is important. So, like, I'm really, really happy that he's doing better and he's doing well enough to share that with the world, The important thing here to point out is this kind of thing happens to everyone. Like, every single great athlete, every single major Olympic icon hits a wall at some point. And Caleb just so happened to hit his wall when he was at the competition. And we're not going to talk about, whether he should have left the meet or not left the meet. What I'm saying is, Michael Phelps hit a point in his career where he was depressed and he wasn't sure, what am I outside of swimming? Who am I away from this guy that just swims in a pool really well? The same thing happened to Ryan Lochte. The same thing happened to numerous Olympic champions. I've met so many Olympians that have been through situations where they reach that pinnacle of the sport. You finally summit Mount Everest, and now you're forced into a situation of what's next. Like, who am I outside of this? Like, that is the thing that goes through every champion's mind once they've achieved that lifelong dream that they've been striving towards forever. It's like, well, now what? And the thing you have to understand with Caleb here is, Caleb had a 5-year chunk, as all the Olympians did, not 4, 5 years with the COVID year and everything. He got married, and because of the postponement of the Olympics, he wasn't able to go on a honeymoon. 5 years is a long time to just truck along for. And then in addition to that, he didn't even take much of a break. He went right into that third ISL season, traveling a lot, competing, bouncing around. We've kind of been joking in the swimming world about how this has been like the longest running swim season of all time, because there's been meet after meet after meet, and they're still going. Like, we've got Short Course Worlds coming up. And so it's just been a lot. And he hit the point where he was like, I can't do this. And I'll tell you a story. Like, Because it's difficult to explain to someone how your mind operates in that situation if you've never been in that situation. Let me tell you a quick story. In 2013, I made my first big Team USA A trip. I made the duel in the pool in Glasgow, Scotland. This was the year after the London Olympics. And on this team that I had been selected for, by the way, I was like the last person selected for this meet. I was like the fifth string breaststroker because Brennan Hansen and the former breaststrokers had retired. So now it's like my opportunity to like prove myself on Team USA. But I'm sitting on the bleachers at this competition just hours before the meet, and to my left is a guy named Tyler Clary. Now, some of the older viewers might remember Tyler Clary. The younger viewers may not have ever heard of him. But Tyler Clary was a phenomenal swimmer who won the gold medal in the 200 backstroke at the London Olympic Games. Okay. 1 year later, after winning that gold medal, I'm sitting on the bleachers next to him, and he's having a conversation with a great American coach named Jack Roach. And he's sitting there talking to Jack, and he says, "Jack, I'm not very prepared for this meet. My biggest problem is I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like mentally fried, and I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know why I'm here." That's what Tyler Clary, Olympic champion, just not even 12 months 12 months ago, was sitting there in this position. And I remember sitting next to them in the bleachers. It was like they were having a, kind of a private conversation, but I was just with an earshot and I was just kind of listening. And I remember in that moment sitting there, I was like, how could this guy feel this way? Like my brain couldn't comprehend how Tyler was unhappy, like wasn't happy to be here. And now that I've gone through those similar experiences, I get it. But the point is, even the most successful athletes in the world, they all deal with all of these pressures and all of these really, really challenging things, and everyone hits a breaking point. So I know that a lot of people that have asked, how could Caleb possibly, be having such a hard time? Like, he's such a successful, he's one of the greatest of all time. Things should be good. He says, no, he's a person. He's a person navigating things. He's a person navigating the waters of, trying to be this ultra successful elite athlete, but also have a personal life and be a person with merit, a person with purpose, a person with happiness outside of the swimming thing, right? Like those are, having, like Caleb said in his Instagram, having both. A lot of times I think the key to elite athletes performing well for a long period of time is having balance. And Caleb has just had a struggle finding balance, and he's working his way through that, as all athletes have to, right? Like they all reach a wall. I mean, the Olympic blues is something that you've heard about before, that people talk about because it's real. When you put all of your energy and your focus orbits one thing your entire life, and then that one thing finally happens, all of a sudden you hit a wall and you have to recalibrate. And it's like, I think, and I'm just speculating here, I have not physically talked to Caleb about this, but I think he's just been go, 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 and now finally it's all caught up to him. And he's not the only one. I have talked to other Olympians, very successful Olympians from the Tokyo Olympics, that feel similarly. Like they all go through this. This is normal. But I believe Caleb will be back. I believe he's, clearly he swam great this summer, even though he needed to take off. That's fine. He'll be back. He'll be back. And it will be exciting to see how he does. And obviously, as a fan, as a teammate of Caleb's, I'm always rooting for him. I love the guy. I want nothing more than for him to just, be killing it and, going incredible times that blow our minds. So anyway, that's the deal. So we finally got that out of the way. We talked about that. Once again, thank you, Luca, for that submission. And let's go ahead and move on to our second main topic of the day. And our second main topic of the day comes to us from Olivia from Alberta, Canada. Ooh, all right, go Canucks. And Olivia writes, "Good day, Cody. As a Canadian, Penny Oleksiak is my idol. She's the most decorated Canadian swimmer ever. I just saw that she is undergoing major knee surgery. She actually just had surgery, I believe, a few weeks ago. Do you think she can bounce back post-surgery? What are her chances of topping the medal podium ever again? Can she once again reclaim Olympic gold in the 100-meter free?" Ooh, good question. "I hope to hear your thoughts. Love the new show. You rock." Okay, thank you so much for that submission. And yes, Penny suffered a bucket handle meniscus tear in her knee. She's already had surgery. And the thing with this is doing a little bit of research, and I know a little bit about knee surgeries and knee issues because I myself had a pretty gnarly knee injury, very different from this. But your question is great. Can she ever top the medal podium again? Can she make a comeback? I mean, I believe she's only 22 years old, so she's young. The answer is probably yes to all of those things. And let's talk about this. Number one, the bucket handle meniscus tear is a pretty... There's no good tears, like there's no good injuries, but as far as the recovery period, some people recover from that within 6 weeks. Sometimes it takes 3 months. But the good news for her is it seemed like, from what everyone is saying, it was a clean tear, and it's something that can very much be managed. Now, she did write in her Instagram post that this is definitely going... Here, let me go ahead and read this quote directly from Penny's Instagram. The recovery process is probably about to be the longest and most tentative one I've ever had to deal with, but I'm super excited to use this time to recover properly and get stronger in the process. Okay, so I don't know much about Penny outside of like what she's done in the water, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that she hasn't had a whole lot of major injuries before, because although a tear is horrible, an injury is bad, this is something that can absolutely be rehabbed and mitigated, and within a few months, she should be back to fighting weight. And, you know, fun fact, some of you may not know this, but I am actually half Canadian. My dad never even had American citizenship. Now, obviously, my mom was born here. My mom's from Montana. That's where a lot of my family is. However, I have a lot of family in a lot of family in Canada. And so Penny, to me, is also a rock star, and I have loved watching her swim. And I gotta say, like, she's the most decorated Canadian Olympic swimmer of all time. The question that you posed, can she win another gold medal? Right? That's a great question, because get this. So if we break down her career, Penny won the gold medal in the 100 freestyle, tying Team USA's Simone Manuel in 2016. And the time that they swam when she won gold was 52.7. Okay, you know, that's always up there for winning a gold medal at any major international competition. This past summer, just a couple months ago, she led off the Canadian relay in a 52.51. 52.51, which is faster than what she went when she won gold. How many years ago was that? 6 years ago? However, she got 4th place in the individual race. She just missed the podium. She went 52.9 in finals. So she missed the medal podium this summer individually. Her career is interesting because after winning gold in 2016, she never won another individual international medal in the long course format. I think she might have won some short course, but you know, in the long course format until the Tokyo Olympics, she won bronze in the tuna freestyle. So she went a long stretch. She had a bunch of relay medals, you know, lots of medley relays, lots of freestyle relays, winning silvers and bronze, but nothing individually. So she hasn't really podiumed much since. But she's, like I said, she went 52.5, which would have won worlds. So can she be on top of the podium again and potentially reclaim gold? The answer is yes, and she's still young. She's only 22 years old, so she'll be 24. She'll be fit and ready to go. So by the time Paris rolls around, she could be a legit contender to win again. And how cool would it be? Like, as a fan, I love this. How cool would it be if she won gold again? If she won gold again, right? She didn't make the podium at the 2020 Olympics in the 100 free individually. But what if 8 years after winning gold, she won again? I mean, what a story. Like, that would be exciting. So I am definitely rooting for her. I want to see this. The Canadian side of me, very much rooting for her. I love this kind of stuff. So I hope she does well. But yes, I absolutely think she's going to bounce back. She's going to be okay. All you Canadians out there, don't worry. Everything's going to be cool. Very, very excited to see what happens. And I wonder, you know, how much faster can she get, right? Because it's probably going to be a little faster in Paris. Can she go 52 low? Can she maybe dip under 52 and get close to Sarah's world record? I don't know. It would be fun to see. But thank you, Olivia, for the question. Love it. Love it. Greatly appreciate it. All right, and let's go ahead and move on to topic number 3. And topic number 3 today comes to us from Diego from Toluca, Mexico. Cool. Hola, Cody. Did you see that South African star Chad Leclo is moving to Germany to permanently train for Paris 2024? Is this a good or a bad move? Can Chad win more Olympic medals, or is his time up? What do you think? Side note, your weekly vlogs are a highlight to my week. Thanks. All right, thank you so much for that question. And yes, Diego, this is another big piece of news. I mean, this is like a headline news story as well. South Africa's Chad Leclo is one of the most decorated swimmers of all time. And kind of similar to what we just talked about with Caleb, he himself has been dealing with some things, has been dealing with some demons, has been dealing with, where am I in this world outside of swimming? What do I want? What do I want out of this world of swimming? And he has publicly said that, now that he's reinvested himself, that he wants to be not one of, but the most decorated swimmer in the short course world championship format. Right now, that title belongs to Ryan Lochte. By the way, I saw Ryan swim a mile in the ocean last week, and it was like one of the best things ever because he's full dad bod now. But anyway, Ryan has 24 short course world championship medals, 24. And Chad, I believe, has 18, so he needs 6 more. We've got short course worlds coming later this year, so he's going to tally up a couple more and get there. Because he's thinking legacy. Like, he wants his legacy to be, I'm the greatest at this. And his short course swimming, good God, it's absolutely remarkable how many world records, how many insane ISL swims he has. I love watching the dude swim. I've actually raced him in a few IMs at some World Cups, and he totally killed me. But he's pretty amazing. And Chad is obviously most well known for winning gold in the 200 butterfly at the London Olympics. That was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, and now 10 years after, climbing Mount Olympus, he's thinking, I want to be the greatest, most decorated ever at this, because he reveres and loves short course swimming as much as anyone out there, as much as a Tom Shields does. And interesting enough, this summer he did compete at the Commonwealth Games, and he went 155.8 in the 200 fly. And when he won gold 10 years ago at the London Olympics, he was 152.9, which I do believe is still his lifetime best time. And then in Rio, he won bronze in the 200 freestyle, I believe. So he has accumulated a lot of Olympic medals, but just the tenure, 10 years. And your question, he's just moved to Frankfurt, Germany permanently to train with this coach, Dirk. Is this a good or a bad thing? I think this is a good move. I think this is a very good move from him. I don't know this coach well. I don't know much about this facility, but from what I've read online, it has all of the things that an athlete like Chad needs to continue to be successful. When you've been doing this as long as Chad, when you've been swimming as long as Chad, especially at a high level, you need to do some new things to keep things fresh. But most importantly, you need to have a good training environment of people around you, good energetic coaches so that things don't get stale. You need to have a strong support system. And it looks like this facility in Frankfurt where he's going has all of those things. And there's a whole awesome write-up on SwimSwam that you can read. And I believe the coach that is now fostering this is basically the guy that mentored Cameron Vandenberg, the South African home-trained Olympic gold medalist. He had the world record before Adam Peaty. For you youngsters out there, the guy that had the world record in the 100 breaststroke before Adam Peaty, that was his big mentor. And so the question is, can Chad win more medals? Can Chad win more Olympic medals? Yeah, he definitely can. Just based on what he did this last year, 155 and 2 flies, not very far off what winning a medal will take at another long course world championships or at an Olympic Games. So that's very exciting. How cool would it be to see Chad come back and win more individual medals at an Olympic Games? I'm obviously selfishly rooting for the older guys, the grizzled heroes that are just kind of hanging on. How much more can he squeeze out of this career? That's what I want to see, And so I hope that Chad can bounce back, and because he's had some mental health problems, and he's also had some physical problems. Dealing with some minor injuries here or there, and he hasn't swam a whole lot really in the last couple of years. And so now with the lead up, right, we're middle of the quad till the 2024 Olympics. What can he do to Can he become the most decorated short course world swimmer of all time? I think so. I certainly think so. It's going to be really, really exciting to see. So thank you so much for that question, Diego. And now let's move on. Let's move on, guys. Let's move on to topic number 4. And topic number 4 today comes to us from Morgan from South Korea. Ooh, South Korea, cool. Hello, Cody. How do professional swimmers post-college pay for their training and food/rent? Do they pay to keep swimming with their college team? If they aren't super famous, I love how you wrote that, as if all super famous swimmers make tons of money, but we'll get into that. Do they work during the day and train in the morning and night? For Katie Ledecky, I noticed U of F, that's University of Florida, says she is a volunteer coach. I assume that means she can swim there for free in exchange for some coaching. Thanks. All right. And this is a great question. Thank you so much, Morgan. Yeah, I've been asked this a lot. So I can't speak for other nations and other countries. Like Chad moving to that training facility in Frankfurt, Germany, I know he gets funding. So he's getting paid to go there, and that stuff is taken care of for him. But he's one of the most established Olympians of all time. So that's a little different for most people that transition to become a pro out of college. Let me give you an example. So it's different. Like across the United States, it's different everywhere. Some programs will not accept professionals unless they trained at a certain university. For example, University of California, Berkeley, right? The Cal Bears, the Golden Bears, where Ryan Murphy swam, where Kathleen Baker swam, where Nathan Adrian swam. That program is an in-house program only. So you, in order to train at the Berkeley facility under Olympic coach Dave Durden, you have to be a Golden Bear yourself. Like you have to go through that collegiate program. That's the only way that works, okay? Now, do they pay money to continue training there? I don't know. My honest answer is I don't know. I know a lot of the people that swim there. I've just never asked. I'm not sure. I do know that there are other programs that do accept professionals. Say you graduate from a smaller school that does really, really well. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, a girl named Emily McClellan, okay, she went to a really small school in Wisconsin, but she was one of the fastest swimmers in the country. Like good enough to maybe make an Olympic team. She's my age, okay? So this was like right around 2016. She moved to go and train at USC, University of Southern California. At the time, Dave Salo was the coach there. When she moved there, along with some other swimmers that transitioned to be professionals, they had to pay a coaching fee, a fee to be a part of that team, to be a part of that club. So they did have to pay. Now your question, how do those swimmers afford rent? How do those swimmers afford groceries? You got to work. I mean, I'm lucky. I'll speak for Indiana, like here. We have accepted, our program has accepted very few athletes to come train here as a professional that didn't actually attend our university. Very, very, very few. We've had maybe like 5 or 6 total over the last like 10 years that I can think of. So Ray is super picky. I mean, quite honestly, like Ray has turned down Olympic medalists to train here. Coach Ray Lewis, head coach of Indiana, has turned down Olympic medalists who have asked if they could come and train here. And I know that that's the case for other Olympic coaches across the United States as well. But no, we do not pay to train here. Like I do not have to pay to train at the facility, and neither do the other pros. But that's different. Some places do. Like you asked, do some people who graduate from their 4th year of college and want to continue swimming to go to the Olympic trials, some places do have to pay. Like for example, David Marsh, one of the most famous coaches in all of swimming, has had at various times certain pro groups at certain places. Like he was at Swim Mac in North Carolina for a long period of time. He had a group out in California for a while. Like those athletes paid to be coached by him and paid to be a part of that facility. So the answer to your question is it varies place to place. Like everything is different. Some coaches are going to charge athletes even if they are their own athletes. Some coaches not, it very, very much depends. But how do those athletes make money? That's a whole other question. I mean, my first 2 years, Matt, about a year and a half after graduating college, I had no money. I had no sponsors. and no family money to fall back on. Like, I was broke. I had more $0 in my bank account than anything else. And I had to wash cars, detail motorcycles, and flip stuff from flea markets, no joke, just so that I could buy peanut butter and make rent so that I could train and hopefully make a national team. And then eventually, I won nationals and I was able to get a few sponsors and get a little more money, but it wasn't really a lot. And we can dive into that stuff, more of that kind of stuff in future videos. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I mean, Katie Ledecky, you asked about Katie Ledecky at U of F. She is listed as a volunteer coach. And there are benefits to that. It's going to depend on the rules of the university, the rules of the conference, and then also the NCAA has their own rules. But as a volunteer coach, she can absolutely train for free. I mean, she can travel with the team. So likely, like, they might go to meets, they might go to competitions, and she can travel with the team, on the team's dime, on their bus, and that's not against a violation because she's directly on roster associated with the team. And then maybe she can exhibition some races, right? Like at a college dual meet, they might take 10 minutes during a break in between sessions, and the pros can race, and then Katie can do her 500. She can't, at college level meets, Katie's not gonna be able to dive in and race the college swimmers that she trains with or the college swimmers of other universities that are there at that meet. That's not legal. But with her being a volunteer coach, she can go to those meets and then potentially swim exhibition basically by herself or against other pros there. So there's a lot of things like that. But yeah, there are a lot of places that will add on fifth year swimmers as professionals, as volunteer assistant coaches, so that they get benefits like that, right? So yeah, that's a really great question. There's a whole lot to pick apart there, a whole more we can talk about. So if you've got more questions in that world, send me an email to codymillershow@gmail.com and we can get into it. But thank you, Morgan, for that question. Super cool. You're from South Korea. Okay, our next topic of the day. Topic number 5 comes to us today from Jaden from Washington. And Jaden writes, "Hello, Cody. I was wondering if in the Olympics, World Championships, or national level meets, would they ever add an 800 medley relay? Have you heard anything about this? Do you think swimming should have an 800 medley relay? If there was an 800 medley relay, would you swim it?" Love that. "I would like to hear your thoughts on this. P.S. I love your content." All right, Jaden. Thank you for the question. And yes, the 800 medley relay. What an awesome idea. Like, what a obviously, I'm a dude that just loves the sport and wants more events, but yes, I think it's a phenomenal idea. I would love to. We already have the 4x200 freestyle relay. Why not the medley relay? Like, the medley relay is maybe more, the 4x100 medley is maybe even more exciting. So why not double that up? I think it's a great idea. And to answer your question, I have spoke with people at FINA. I have spoke with people who are on the boards of certain positions that make decisions, like big decisions, like decisions about what events will be added to the Olympic roster. And I can tell you for a fact that they have had this conversation multiple times. The conversation of adding the 4x200 medley relay to the event lineup is a conversation that has happened and been seriously considered. Now, unfortunately, the event lineup for the next Olympics, and I even believe the 2028 LA Olympics, I believe those events have been set. So like, we're not gonna get 50s of stroke in the next 1 or 2 Olympics. At least certainly not LA. I think 2028 is set in stone. I could be wrong. However, at times when they bring these proposals of, okay, what can we do to make our events better? What can we do to drive audiences to engage with our events? What can we do to better the overall experience for our viewers? And that includes cutting and adding events. And this is something that has absolutely been talked about. Now the question is, will it ever happen? I think it will. I honestly think it will. I think it's going to take time. Like I said, I don't think it's going to happen in the next 5 years. But here's the thing, like, the trend is, unfortunately, Olympic sports, ever since the Rio Olympics, has been on a downward trajectory viewership-wise, okay? Now, swimming is the most popular Olympic sport by viewership, by far, like by a lot. I mean, track and field is up there. Other than that, like, by far. And so what they want is more viewers. So what can they do to gain more viewers? They add more events to make things more exciting. That's why they added the mixed relays, right? The half female, half male relays. Like, they added that, and FINA has added both the freestyle relays and the medley relays. And so I think that we'll get 50s of stroke first, and I do think that will eventually happen, because the argument against it is stupid. Like, there's no logical argument against it. It adds more medals. It's an exciting race. People want to watch those things. Why don't we have it? Like, I've already talked about this before on this show. So I think we'll get 50s of stroke first, but the 800 4x200 medley relay, I do think it'll happen eventually, because they're gonna need to keep adding more events to showcase something new. To showcase, oh my gosh, like, what nation is going to be the first nation to win the 4x200 medley relay, its debut in the Olympic Games. Like, those kinds of storylines, that kind of publicity, that's a big deal. Who will be the very first Olympic champion in the 50-meter backstroke for the first time ever? Like, those things, that is what sports thrive on. That's what sports needs. And I absolutely think that it'll happen. Like I said, I don't think it's anytime soon, but we'll see it. Mark my words, we'll see it. Like, who knows? Maybe in 8 years I'll still be talking about swimming on camera. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But you'll remember this and you'll be like, Cody was right. That's my opinion. But the question is, what do you all think? Like, what do you think? Will we ever get an 800 medley relay? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys. Thank you for that question, Jaden. And now topic number 6. And topic number 6 comes to us today from Chris from Indiana. And Chris writes, "Hey Cody, my kids love your vlogs, so thank you. I've seen you mention that you do some swim clinics. Forgive me, but I'm not very familiar with swimming and with the swimming world, and I don't know what a swim clinic entails. I'm wondering, what does a swim clinic with you look like?" All right, thank you so much for that question. And yes, I've been doing more clinics. They're fun. I enjoy doing them. The very first time I met an Olympian was a guy named Josh Davis. I was like 11 or 12 years old, and he came and did a swim clinic for my team. He let me hold his Olympic gold medal. It was so cool. It was so cool. It was like one of the best experiences of my life. And that was 20 years ago. And now I get to do that. I get to go to club teams. I get to let kids hold some of my medals. I bring my Olympic medals. I share stories. I get in the water. But like, what it looks like, a swim clinic, I show up. We do photos and autographs. People get to meet me, engage with me, chat with me. I get in the water with, for 90 minutes or 2 hours with the kids. I show them drills, tips, all kinds of things, Olympic warm-ups. I like to do fun stuff in the water. Sometimes I do like bubble ring tutorials. So, and then at the very end of the clinic, everyone gets to race me. I race every single kid. Sometimes we have 100 kids at a clinic. Everyone gets to race me in a heat in a 25 of their stroke. Or sometimes we do 50s or more or whatever. And then I have a speech that I give. Over the years, I've been crafting together some of my favorite stories to share in like a speech. I do banquet speeches and stuff, and that's really, really fun. And I like to think that I'm getting pretty good at it. And it's fun. And the kids get to wear Olympic medals and stuff. So that's basically what like a swim clinic is. So anyway, I'm not doing a lot of them, but I'm doing more of them now just because I really, really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And so if you are interested in booking me for a swim clinic, just send me an email, and I'll send you some information. And, I did a swim clinic in Florida after my Race the Legends this past week. I went to St. Petersburg, Florida. That was super cool. I've done a few in Texas lately. I've kind of, anyway, lots of fun. So thank you for that question. Really, really appreciate it. And now let's move on. Let's move on to topic number 7, guys. And topic number 7 comes to us from Nate from New York. And Nate writes, "What's up, Cody? I've got to ask, as a self-proclaimed nerd, what are your first impressions of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon? Oh, baby. I hope to hear your thoughts. Love you and the show. Cheers." Nate, my friend, you came to the right place. I am thick into The Lord of the Rings. The very first thing my wife Allie and I ever talked about was Lord of the Rings. I kid you not. That was the very first thing we ever talked about. And then we started talking about, our love for Harry Potter. And look at all the nerd stuff I've got behind me. There's a dragon right there. There's a 3-headed dragon. You think I'm not watching House of the Dragon? There's literally a 3. So I'll tell you my thoughts. House of the Dragon is amazing. It is so much better than I ever thought it was going to be. And I'm a guy that like, I liked the last season of Game of Thrones. I know a lot of people like to hate on it, but I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Didn't love it. I love most of the show, but I thought it was pretty good. But this show is so focused. Yeah, it's one of the best first episodes of a series that I've ever seen. You watch the first episode of House of the Dragon, and like the episode ends, and you know exactly where the story is going. Like there's an event, there's a setup, you get introduced to all these characters, and you know where it's going. You're either in or you're out after that first hour. And that first hour did everything right. It introduced these characters in a way where you got insight into where they're at in their life, what's their perspective on things, maybe what are they thinking about the future of the realm. It endears you to the characters, like you really are endeared to Daemon and Rhaenyra, these characters. They're very, very likable. Yeah, it's just a solid up. And obviously all the dragon stuff, so cool. All the action, the political intrigue, I love it. And then there's Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. I will say I was a little disappointed with episode 1. I enjoyed episode 1. Do not mistake me. I enjoyed it. And I am very much still excited for the show. But I just felt like it kind of dragged. Like I'm a super nerd. And I just kind of felt like, okay, like is the story going to pick up? Because, you could say that the first episode of House of Dragon was slow because it was mostly scenes of people talking, but there was pace and there was cadence and it progressed the narrative forward. The narrative of House of Dragon, or of Rings of Power so far is like, we don't really know where the story's going until the end of episode 2. So you're 2 hours in before you're like, all right, maybe this is where, so it's just been slow. But I love the world building. I love seeing all the different parts of Middle Earth. Oh, I love it. So anyway, guys, if you need a new show, I would recommend House of Dragon for sure. If you are into fantasy, I would recommend both. But the honest answer is episode 2 of Rings of Power was better. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. Haven't watched episode 3 yet. That airs today, the day that I'm filming this on Friday, but we'll see. So we're getting into that. But anyway, thank you for indulging me on me talking about my nerd stuff. If you watch those shows, let me know what you think, because guys, I'm loving it. It's like a special treat. Like, and I really enjoy binging TV shows. Like I do. I will sit down and Allie and I'll binge a show for like 8 hours in a day. Like we do that. However, I prefer the week by week release process because it gives me something in the middle of my week or at the end of my week. It's like a little treat that I get every single week. And it gives me more time thinking and pondering what's going to happen, more time fixating on the things of the show that I love. I like having like a good show each week to watch. You know what I mean? It's very enjoyable. So thank you, Nate, for that question. And that'll do it, guys. That's it. That's a wrap on all of our main topics today. Once again, if you want to get a main topic on the show, it's easy. Just send me an email to codymillershow@gmail.com. If you'd like a personalized video for me, I am on Cameo. I send videos for whatever reason, whatever you need. If you're interested in a swim clinic, go ahead and send me an email. Maybe we can work something out. If you have suggestions for the show, send me an email. Let me know what you all think. I hope this is fun. I like sitting down talking about this swimming news stuff. Like I really, really enjoy it. And I eventually am going to have more of a podcast setup where I can, bring people on and do like, a 2-person kind of thing. Like me and Blake have talked about this stuff. So eventually I'll get around to that. But for now, I'm just trying to do more of this stuff. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on, share my videos with your swimmer friends. That really helps me. I do have merchandise on the merch store, codymillerswim.com. And as always, thank you all. And until my next video, I will see you later.